I'm underage and Fisher is still with her. He knows she's underage right here. I'm surprised Candace is actually reading this.
Yeah, me too. That's crazy, right?
Yeah, this doesn't make sense.
Well, today I'm going to offer you the most thorough accounting of the exact charges that face the Tate brothers and my belief of why they are going to beat these charges.
Hi, I'm Nathan from MilkBarTv. Candace Owens recently did an interview with Andrew Tate, self-confessed pimp, who's facing criminal charges of rape and human trafficking. It appears that the blowback from this interview was so severe that she felt she needed to justify why she did it. Pretty much she finds herself defending 5 child predators in an attempt to take down one of Andrew Tate's victims. It's quite shocking and really quite unbelievable. But let's take a look.
So who is Emma Gabby? First, I'll tell you who she is according to the Tate brothers, who is suing her in Palm Beach County, Florida.
According to the Tate brothers, we're going to tell you who a human trafficking victim is by the 2 guys who have been charged with human trafficking this victim in Romania. So they're going to tell you who this victim is.
According to them, again, if you want to take their word for it.
We don't want to take their word for it. As we've already seen in previous videos that you've made, Milk Bar, Tate is a compulsive liar.
Emma Gabby is a predator who has a long history of baiting men into sexual relationships for the specific purpose of destroying their lives. She has a chain of victims going back several years to when she was a minor.
Oh, she said it. She was a minor. These are not guys who were 20 years old or 22 years old. These men are all into their mid-30s and above. Keith Fox was 57. Emma was 15. Dustin Milner was 35 years old. Emma was 17. Tyler Hensel was 35 years old. Emma was 17. Marlon Fisher was 34 years old. Emma was just 1 month out of her 16th birthday. She was 17. Joel Friedman was 39 years old. Emma was 17. So what we have here is a group of child predators, guys who are preying on young girls, saying, oh, woe is me, I was set up by this minor. That's what we have here. This is essentially Jeffrey Epstein saying, oh, I was having these underage girls come in and give me massages, but I didn't know they were under the age of 18. Silly me. These are guys who were looking for young women. And Emma, she looks very young, as you can see. How can a grown man in his mid-30s or older look at this girl and say, oh yeah, clearly she's overage? The responsibility is the adults to make sure that she's overage. So let's talk about the law in Florida regarding statutory rape and what this actually means. In Florida, anyone over the age of 24 cannot have sex with someone under the age of 18 years old, even if the person under the age of 18 years old lied about their age. Ignorance is not a defense. Even if they lied about their age, it is the responsibility of the adult to figure out the true age of the minor. This is the law. If you don't like the law, feel free to go and try to change the law.
Before she ever met a Tate brother, Emma Gabby was a sex worker. She had her own Pornhub account, and she could be contacted via a sex hotline. Again, that is before she ever met a Tate brother.
All right. In the actual Florida lawsuit, the only thing they mention is social media accounts, and they mention an OnlyFans account. Now, Emma's OnlyFans account, she did topless pictures on there, and she eventually shut that down because she was not interested in OnlyFans. And what she's showing on the screen right now, 666 Fury, that is an image, a mock-up image that was taken directly from her Instagram account. There is no 666 Fury. That is just an image that she put together with the costume that she had. That doesn't exist. She was not a sex worker in this sense. So this is starting out really bad. She's gaslighting people into thinking that Emma was this sex worker, when in fact the worst that she actually did was do topless pictures on OnlyFans.
The first case involves a man who I am not going to name, and the only reason I'm not going to name him is because at the time of the allegations against him, Emma was in fact a minor, and that of course is relevant. So we just want to be ethical here.
Pause. So she wants to be ethical here, and she's protecting the man who has been convicted of a sex crime against 2 different minors because there was a minor involved. However, she has no problem saying what the minor's name is. So she has no problem saying Emma's name, but she's not mentioning the actual name of Keith Fox.
Throughout this episode, by the way, you're going to hear some beeps when I'm discussing this case. If I accidentally say his name, we intend to just beep it out.
Keith Fox was a 57-year-old man who was convicted and sentenced to 24 years in prison for sexually abusing two girls under the age of 18. Emma was a 15-year-old girl. He was a 57-year-old married man who was sexually abusing her. A private investigator captured images of Keith Fox sexually abusing Emma through a window. So he was caught red-handed. And if you look this case up, you're going to know that there's absolutely no possible scenario in where she falsely accused this man of anything.
And not expose his name so that people can look up the case because, as I said, she was underage at the time.
And they don't want you to know his name because if you look this case up, you're going to see that she clearly did not frame him.
There were two girls that were involved in that case, just to be clear, and one of the girls admitted flat out to having an outright sexual relationship with him, including sexual intercourse. Now let's talk about Marlon Fisher. Who is he?
So let's talk about Marlon Fisher. He was a 34-year-old man, and he met Emma 1 month after her 16th birthday. And all of the chats that you're going to see here, these chats allegedly come from Marlon illegally accessing her phone and taking all of these chats off of her phone. So this is a child predator, 34 years old, dealing with a woman who is 17 years old, and ignorance is not a defense, remember. She can lie about her age, but in Florida, the responsibility falls on him. And he has a history here. And though the actual case was dismissed, there was another person who took him to court and filed a petition for stalking. So this isn't the first time he's had issues.
So this is a text message that Marlon Fisher is alleging that Emma Gabby sent to people regarding him. Now, to be clear, before I read this text message, I am about to read you a lot of text messages that apparently came from Emma Gabby and other people throughout this episode. As a general disclaimer, these text messages are a part of cases that are pending and have been submitted to the courts. They have signed affidavits swearing that these are true. I independently, of course, have no means to individually authenticate these messages and to say to you that these are definitely real and I'm holding the phone. So you're going to have to trust the people that are submitting them.
Pause. We have to trust child predators. That's what she's saying right here. We have to trust that a man who is 34 years old having sexual intercourse with a girl who's 17 years old, which is statutory rape, we have to trust this man has given an honest affidavit.
So going back to this text message, the first one reads from Emma Gabby, again, out to all of her friends. I need to open up and tell you all something because I owe it to you, the people I care about. You have each moved me so much in my life that I am able to do it. I have a problem. I am a pathological liar. My life started in Kazakhstan, where I grew up in a loveless orphanage. We were picked up facing away from the caretakers, so we never developed love. I never learned how to hug, smile, kiss, touch, or be close to anybody. I was adopted by incredible people named Mona and Bill, who saved me from a life of abuse. I had a beautiful childhood because of them. When I was 11 or 12, I began to dissociate and resent them. I felt unwanted and like I had no family, so I began to rebel, doing drugs and meeting lots of different people.
This is exactly the type of troubled and vulnerable woman that human traffickers will look for.
Would a butt plug go off through a metal detector? And to give context to that message, the context that was provided by Marlon Fisher, she was asking Marlon Fisher if wearing her butt plug would set off the courthouse metal detector when she needed to go through in order to meet with the district attorney who was prosecuting the person that I just told you about, which is why it's relevant.
Yeah, I don't even understand the point of this. What she's doing is she's shaming a child. She's shaming a troubled child for having these, sexual kinks. And that has nothing to do with the fact that she was allegedly trafficked to Romania. None of this has anything to do with that other than they're just trying to shame her.
Again, this is being told by Marlon Fisher, so I can only say allegedly these are her actual text messages.
Allegedly.
Now, Marlon Fisher began to suspect that she was lying about her age. Now, remember, is serving a prison sentence. His life has pretty much been destroyed here. But the pattern of behavior, again, this is coming from Marlon Fisher, that was used on him represents the same pattern of behavior that she used against her other victims.
Okay, so pause it right here because Jail John, who is Keith Fox, He was caught on film and he was convicted. There is no scenario here where she misled him. Ignorance is not a defense. That's why he was convicted and why he was actually sent to prison, because in Florida, that doesn't matter. She lied about her age, so what? It was your responsibility. That's why they convicted him and actually sent him to prison. Additionally, if Fisher once finds that, if he starts questioning her age, that's where you sever the relationship. You don't continue a relationship with someone when you start to suspect that they might be a minor. You're gone. You bounce. The fact that he's hanging around is suspect.
That was induced into an illicit sexual relationship with a minor under false pretenses. According to Marlon Fisher, performed deviant sexual acts in the bedroom, such as urinating on her during intercourse.
Yeah, he's the victim. He's the victim here. The 57-year-old married man who is urinating on a 15-year-old child is the victim, just for context.
Well, it ends with Emma Gabby filing documents against Marlon Fisher. On September 16, 2019, she walked into Palm Beach County Courthouse and filed a temporary injunction for protection against domestic abuse against Marlon Fisher under what he claims are false pretenses.
So what we have here is the second situation where Emma has accused someone formally. The first one was Keith Fox, and I believe it was her mother that started that in motion, but he was convicted. He was convicted. He did it to another girl. He was caught on film. He was convicted. There's no question that was not false. Now we have the second person here who she did go to the police and file some sort of an accusation. Notice it was not kidnapping and it was not human trafficking, as the Tates love to claim. So we have one that was actually convicted, so that's not false. And we have a second one which has nothing to do with human trafficking or kidnapping.
She filed a restraining order under oath in Florida State Court where she accused Marlon Fisher of severely abusing her. Marlon Fisher, distraught, did not know what to do. Now, just as a reminder, they've engaged in BDSM, according to him.
Right. This is all according to Tate's and according to the man who was raping her, essentially.
She wants to engage in BDSM, and so now she is claiming that she has been abused. So you can imagine this obviously presents some suffering.
Pause. You've been having sex with a minor, and now you found out that you're having sex with a minor. You continue to have communication with the minor, and now the minor actually goes to the police and makes some accusations against you. Oh yeah, of course you're going to suffer. You know, that's statutory rape. I'm surprised Chris Henson didn't walk in and tell him to have a seat. Why don't you have a seat right over there?
The next case, and I want to be clear here, I have seen people online circulating saying that this woman, that Emma Gabby, caused a man to commit suicide. I want to say that that is something that is an allegation that I would not stand by.
So Candace says she wouldn't stand by this, but then she continues to go into it. She obviously wants to plant that seed to make you think, well, maybe she was involved. So Dustin Milner was a 35-year-old depressed man who was having sex with a 17-year-old girl, which was Emma. He also has a criminal history. He got a felony for unauthorized possession of an identification card. So it looks like at one time he also had a fake ID. So 35 years old with a 17-year-old. Now, according to the Florida lawsuit, there's no actual evidence that says that she's involved. They're basing it on the brother believing, his thought is, that she may have been involved. And I can understand where he might be coming from, where he's trying to make sense of the suicide and he wants to put the blame somewhere. So obviously he's going to place it with her, but there's no actual evidence that she was involved.
So there is no evidence here that could back this up. She didn't tell him to kill himself.
Okay, so she just said it. There's no evidence to back this up. Candace said that herself. And it's also important to understand there is no accusation here. She did not accuse him of trafficking, of kidnapping, or any particular crime. He unfortunately committed suicide. And there's no evidence to actually back that up.
And so I just want to make it clear that in digging into this, I didn't feel comfortable suggesting that she made him commit suicide.
But you talked about it anyway.
Moving on to a young man named Tyler Hensel.
Okay, so Tyler Hensel, the young man who was 35 years old, and you can see that at the bottom of the screen there. She highlights something in yellow, but if you go down and look, you can see that Tyler was 35 years old and Emma was 17 years old. Now, Tyler alleges that he thought she was 26 years old, but again, ignorance is not a defense. The responsibility falls on him, 35-year-old with a 17-year-old.
Indicating to Hensel like to Martin Fisher before him, that she was into BDSM and insisted on calling him daddy in the bedroom. At one point, when the two of them were alone, Gabby even jumped on top of Tyler Hensel, initiating sexual contact. Hensel, who was not into this kind of degrading behavior, often rejected her demands for more aggressive sexual conduct.
But he still had sex with her, and there's no way, looking at her picture, are you going to think that she is 26 years old back when she's 17 years old? That's not going to happen. And I hate the fact that she keeps shaming her for her sexual kinks. That's not a crime. If you want to talk about sexual kinks, the Tate brothers are both on the record for choking women until they pass out.
Now, again, this person, she never ended up filing anything against.
Okay, pause. So there were no accusations made against Tyler Hensel. So now we have two of the men where there were no accusations made. One of the men was actually convicted. So we have one man where accusations were made, and it was not about human trafficking or kidnapping. So we have one man where she's made an accusation against. And technically speaking, he was 34, she was 17. That is statutory rape. So she would have been within her rights to actually make that complaint.
Then we have the defamation of Joel Friedman, that she defamed a man named Joel Friedman. And this is an actual text message. How do we know about this defamation against Joel Friedman?
All right, so Joel Friedman is a 39-year-old man. Again, Emma was 17 years old. And how did you learn about the defamation? Surprise, through Fisher, the child predator. And also, Friedman had a history of drug abuse. He's actually been brought up on charges for drug abuse. One of the charges was possession of cocaine.
Exchange between Marlon and Gabby. Gabby writes, "Can I message Joel to tell him that I have a boyfriend?" Marlon Fisher says, "As you clearly understand, nobody cares that you have a boyfriend, but if you'd like to tell him that he raped you, by all means." Emma says, "I'd like to not put our relationship at risk. I'll gladly tell him when I'm 18 and anybody else that happened with." So sweet you are. You're breaking up with me because I don't want to tell Joel that he raped me. One, I don't know if he would tell other people that I'm underage.
I'm underage, and Fisher is still with her. And she doesn't want to ruin the relationship with Fisher. He knows she's underage right here. How can you say she set you up? You know she's underage, and you're continuing with this relationship. I'm surprised Candace is actually reading this.
Yeah, me too. That's crazy, right?
Yeah, this doesn't make sense.
Marlon Fisher ended up actually confronting Friedman. You imagine your girlfriend tells you that she was raped by some other man.
Pause. Your underage girlfriend tells you that she was raped by another man. Your underage girlfriend, when you were 34 years old, tells you that she was raped by another 39-year-old man. What is going on here? How is she saying this with a straight face?
Well, eventually Marlon Fisher confronts Friedman over the rape allegation. Friedman, purports to be an innocent man, of course, denied those allegations. Friedman stated that they had a dating type relationship, but were never intimate and shared the passion of music together.
We're supposed to believe an underage girl is so sexually charged that she's into all of this crazy stuff and want to put butt plugs in and walk through court and get choked and all this BDSM. But with this one guy, there's no sexual relation whatsoever. Yeah, I have a hard time believing that.
So that's really interesting. You see a person who has a pattern, these men that are coming out and making statements via an affidavit that about their relationship with her, about how she lied, about how she manipulated. But this pattern of speaking to one man about the last man and claiming that she's in a compromising situation is what these men are saying.
Pause. Yeah, we need to go back on this because Candace has talked about 5 men here. And let's kind of put this in context with the Tate saying that she's accused 7 men of kidnapping or human trafficking.
There's going to be another conversation as to whether women can go around and accuse 7, 8, 9, 10 people of kidnapping on repeat whenever they don't get the handbag they want.
So this all began with a girl accusing us of kidnapping her. A girl we have the CCTV to prove was never kidnapped. Isn't it interesting that she's accused 7 other men of kidnapping her in her life?
And so Keith Fox, he was convicted. There's no question. There was no false accusation there. Dustin Milner, there was no accusation. Tyler Hensel, there was no accusation. Marlon Fisher, there was an accusation, but to be fair, he would fall under statutory rape. He was 34, she was 17. And Joel Friedman, there was no formal accusation. It was Marlon Fisher who claims Emma told him that Joel raped her, but that's not a formal accusation. So at best, we have 2 accusations, and one of them was not formal. So I don't know where this whole she accused 7 men came from. That simply does not exist.
Yeah, and there's 2 missing men. That's 5.
Yeah. Yeah.
She says that she's in a compromising situation and the other person's here to rescue her. She's telling Marlon that Tyler Hensel raped her. She's talking to this person. She's talking to Friedman and saying, oh, this other guy that I'm dealing with is raping me, or I'm in a compromising situation. This is her pattern of behavior before she ever meets a single Tate brother. Again,
Yeah, pause.
Do these on.
This is the pattern of behavior of a child. This is the pattern of behavior of a child who has been sexually abused by multiple men. And by men, I don't mean men who are 21 years old, men who are 39, 34, 35, 35, and 57 years old. And that's just the ones we know about. So this is the pattern of a minor who has been sexually abused repeatedly by adults.
And a pattern of behavior that's being put forth by the Tate brothers.
Yeah.
And the evidence is you have to trust these child predators.
Right, right. Trust the child predators to tell you the truth. Trust the men who have been formally charged with human trafficking to tell you the truth.